Um, I try not to take a single stroke without consciously thinking of one technical aspect that I'm trying to improve. I never go out there and just sort of mindlessly row. Because it's so precious, the time I'm on the water feels so precious because I can only row 3 times a week. I made the mistake of rowing in the rain on Monday because I thought I'll bring the flyers and put them in and might as well row, and I know it's gonna rain, but it was in that incredible rainstorm going back. And then I rowed this morning with the group and I thought, that's too much to row twice in a row for me. Now that's because I'm 73. But I do think that pacing yourself, and it's so precious when I'm on the water that I am never not thinking about something. And when Anna and I go out, we say, well, we're going to work on today, and we describe what it is. I'm always trying not to open my back too early. I'm trying to just lift my arms at the catch instead of my shoulders or my back. I mean, there's so many things that there are to work on, and I simply move through them. 20 of this thing, 20 of that thing, light feet on the foot plate. So I think that there's not as much emphasis on detailed technical improvement that is relentless, that you never stop working on it. In fact, a very wise coach said to me, if you are not actively working on getting technically better, your stroke is deteriorating. And I'm sure that's true because you get a little sloppy, bad habits creep in. So this brings up the subject of coaching. And I am always surprised people don't take advantage of the coaches more. I am with a coach 2 days every week that I am on the water because once in the group and once for one of those little sessions. And I don't have much competition to get those little 15-minute sessions. I can't believe it. Yoav is an incredible coach. I have made such improvements, and he's leaving now. He's left already. Oh, I guess he's here Thursday, but I know they'll find, I'm sure, someone to come in. Take advantage of a coach looking at you and looking at your rigging, as you were saying how said you need to change your rigging. I mean, we can be hurting ourselves because our rigging is not adjusted to use it more efficiently. So taking advantage of the coaches so that you know what it is you have to work on. Every week I have a different thing that he tells me to work on. My elbows up at the finish, and that means that I'm sitting up with my chest better. Oh my God, these things that are so subtle and make all the difference. So, I mean, I actually feel as though I'm rowing technically better than I've ever rowed because I'm working at it hard. I'm not necessarily faster, but okay. After the row, I see almost no one. Anna stretches with me after we row. By the way, having a buddy to row with is crucial. Row and stretch with. It's so crucial. I mean, I think that I do go out on my own, but I know that I'm lazier. I stop more often. I take drinks of water. I mean, but if I'm rowing with somebody or with a group, I'm on it. I'm focusing more. Especially, it's great with Anna. When I used to be able to row with you, Trish, I look forward to rowing with you again. And we would always work on some technical thing that we were working on, and it keeps you on your game, and stretching as well. So I have. It takes patience. It takes time, but I don't think that anybody can't give half an hour stretching after they've rowed. You sort of feel, I feel so good. And you leave, but I see everybody that I see out on the water, the masters rowers particularly, I wonder, you're not going to do anything after? So I made a list, and after the talk, I can actually do a quick demonstration of these using the sew right, which gets your, you lie down on it, and it pushes in right here on the inside and it releases that psoas. And it was Niles who told me about this. And now it's the first thing I do, is lie down on that. When I first started, I couldn't believe how much pain it was, but now I can lie on it for long periods. And it connects to your small of your back. It really helps prevent back pain. Sphinx, because it's a repetitive motion of folding forward, folding forward, folding forward. So everything that is the counter position, back bends, camel, sphinx. I mean, but I did cat and cow. You want to get your spine moving in both directions, the way we were today in that class. And you know, your spine starts up here. So when you're doing these things, where your head is in relation to where your spine, and you know, in a sense, rolling your spine all these ways, super important. Child's pose, to stretch out your back, hands on the floor, and then go diagonally. I've written all this down. Downward dog stretches your hamstrings, stretches your Achilles, your calves, and then coming forward, you know, rolling forward as we were doing today into plank, lowering down, and then coming into up dog. So you have this down dog, up dog. I have a dog, and I watch, in the morning, she looks so great. It's such a good way to stretch yourself out. Lunges to stretch the adductors, because we were doing quite a few of those where we have our, but stretching those out. Pigeon, opening the hips, lying on your chest and pulling up one foot, so you're pulling up your foot behind you so that you're stretching your quads. Twists. It's like giving yourself a chiropractic adjustment if you do twists. I can hear my little crunches. So crunches to strengthen your abdominals, because actually most back pain is related to abdominals. Now, I can't say that's true for you, Andy, because you're such an incredibly strong person, but abdominal core strength, I should say, not abdominals, core strength is what supports our back and usually will help us protect it. And I have my rowing coach, Dan Boyne, after I had hip surgery, I've had both hips replaced, by the way, so I know what it is to have injuries and stuff. And he taught me this series of straightforward and then oblique, 20, 20, 20. I was in such back pain after the hip surgery. I was able to do 120 a day eventually. And I never have had back pain since, because if anything feels tight or tender in my back, I start doing those, and I can show them to you after. There are so many things, but if you do 60 crunches a day, I think you won't have back pain. That has been my experience.
What does your crunch look like?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Okay, so it's lying on your back with your knees perpendicular to the floor and curling up. So it's very, but you're actually curling your spine off and your shoulders are lifted off the floor. So it starts with the lower abdominals and works up to the upper abdominals. I'll show you after though, because I think it's really, all these are super.
That's what you did today, right?
No, it wasn't that exactly.
Okay.
I think what he does is, what he told me, it's just the best I've ever found. And I've known other people who've had terrible back problems. I taught them this and they stopped having back problems. So I really believe in it a lot. Strength training. It's such a big subject that I can't cover it all here. I think that there is a tendency, from what I've just observed in the club, for people to be just working the muscles they need for their rowing. They're thinking about it as, and I understand that. I also, the squats, the, deadlifts, whatever they're doing, but I feel as though one of the risks with rowing is that we are using one set of muscles and not the counter movements and muscles. And so my trainer, I have a trainer in Guatemala who costs $20 an hour as opposed to $120 an hour. So I can have him 3 days a week, three times a week. And he works to balance my body out over the winter. Now, we're going to get to what we do over the winter. I want to talk to people about that because I think it's super important we do more cross-training. And even during the season that you're doing cross-training. Rowing is all, you have to go?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so dog.
That's all right, no problem. Rowing is actually, okay, it's all symmetrical, pretty much symmetrical anyway. It's actually quite limited in what it's doing. So what you want to do is engage all kinds of neuromuscular connections. And I think as we get older particularly, I play pickleball. I play a lot of pickleball. And you actually can get real exercise playing pickleball. It's totally different. It's side-to-side motion. It's the kind of quick reflexes. So I think keeping all of those parts of you working only makes you less likely to get injured and more rounded. Things that are balance things. I did do parkour and then I jumped off a 10-foot wall and sort of twisted my ankle. And oh my God, this is so. But it's a great thing if you're younger than me. It's a great thing to do. But find something else you love and will enjoy doing, and start doing that. And you know, I was talking to Dan Boyne this morning. He's in town. He's my old coach and yoga teacher, and he said the old guys like Kelly and people, they never did anything related to rowing in the winter. They played basketball. He was a boxer, so they were doing the cross training thing naturally. So I think we just this idea of erging all winter, I don't think you're doing yourself any favors. So I will I will talk a bit about erging. I mean, I think it's great to test people with their fitness and their, capacity to pull, but I don't think it's very good for anything that has to do with rowing the boat fast, technically.
So years ago, at a coaching colloquium at CRI, Kate Ackerman, who many of you know, and Denise Frost, who's the head PT at Spalding and brilliant,
Yeah.
spoke to us, and they basically said, if you do not have to erg, do not erg.
I'm so interested to hear
was
that.
it.
Yeah.
Denise would never erg.
Yeah.
That was, if you're a kid showing your determination to suffer, if you're seat racing and your coach requires it.
But
But
fantastic. Yeah.
But many people who I observe use erging as a different sport than rowing. This nonsense of the bow tie thing to get extra length,
No.
it's ludicrous.
No.
You can use an erg and use proper technique to help you in your repetitive motions.
I think it's possible, but in the boat, you have the instability, you have the conditions of the water, the weight of the oars. Your hands are going out or to the side.
No question. I mean,
And it's a stable.
which is why the sliders are good.
They're better.
If we could afford RP3s, they'd be even better.
But you can go on the water most of the time.
I just have,
Yes.
one thing that I struggle with, and that is I've been rowing with the Masters women and I row my single. But so when I row with the Masters women and I train with them in the winter, there's a lot of erging. I try to lift 2 days a week and I try to erg 2 or 3 days a week. But it's a lot. My question is, so I have to do 2 timed erg pieces. I find when I don't erg that it is harder to get on the erg and do a test.
Yeah.
And
I'm
so
sure.
my tests are crap.
I'm
Generally,
sure.
like I don't feel confident in them because they're so different than on the water. And so I struggle with not erging because then I worry about my, tests. So I don't think there's an answer, but I'm frustrated by also the amount of, erging.
Yeah.
That falls into what those 2 learned people were saying. If you don't have to erg,
Right.
don't, but you have to. Because you
To
have
some
a
degree.
5K and a 2K standard.
Yeah. So I realize, especially for the team boats, it's a whole other thing. Because I'm a singles rower. So that's a really good point. I mean, I'm so glad I don't have to do any erg tests. I would be terrible. I think my tests would be terrible. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to be fast. I think that's the thing.
I can't resist throwing this in. In the history of this club, before ergs were invented, it was a multi-sport club. That room we were in was for the boxing ring.
Oh, wow.
This was a boxing club.
Fantastic.
It had
That's
New England
fantastic.
champion boxers.
Still is on occasion.
But
That's
they
so
had
cool. That is-
multiple team sports. Tug of war was a big sport at the time. So they
Using
had their
different
wisdom.
muscles,
Huh?
using different muscles.
Yeah.
Now, the boxing, of course, with the light on your feet, I mean, that's what, if you're good at pickleball, you're light on your feet. I mean, that's a great story.
Yeah.
I think and the other thing is we've become incredibly dependent on our devices to tell us stuff. And we're sort of glued to those. Dan Boyne today said people are always asking him, so how many of this rapid, what this and what, and he said, I just listen to my body and it tells me what's good for today. So I think that I use the Morpheus heart rate monitor, which actually takes into account the beat between the beats, sort of well, it's not a beat exactly, but the
Variability.
All right.
the variability. So, and it does tell me what my recovery is, and it also suggests what heart rate zone I should do my workout in. So, I do think that there is a place for those. I've tried every different one, and this one suits me because I only wear it for 2.5 minutes when I wake up, and then when I'm actually actively training. So, I'm not always checking the number of steps, or I've never counted my steps in my life. I mean, I feel like tuning into our bodies. What do they feel like? How does it feel? My recovery after that row in the rain yesterday was bad. And then I went out and did a hard workout because I had it planned. So sometimes you ignore, but at your peril. I'm not going to, I feel bad about saying something bad about the erg, but I do think that I see it's a beautiful day outside and these young people are all erging instead of being on the water. And on the water, I mean, what is
Because
it?
there's a
No,
specificity
their
principle.
coaches
You
require
want to
that.
be specific to your skill set you're trying to develop. A straight erg, like you mentioned before, the arc of the arms.
The arc of the
ball.
arms.
And then it also favors upper body. That's why the sliders are better because it's closer, because it favors more of your legs.
Yeah.
So it's probably like a 60% correlation at best, doing like just a straight erg.
I feel that should be more discussed because I think people's skills are not getting better.
Well,
They
so
could
with-
actually get into bad habits.
Having gone to lots of rowing conferences, there's always about getting to fitness, and so in rowing, probably the last 20 years has been an obsession with getting your aerobic fitness in. So that just requires tons and tons of slogging. And
Yeah.
I still think it's better to slog out on the water than it is
Yes.
on land.
Yeah.
But recently, having taken part in a CrossFit study, so CrossFitters can do the concept 2 roughly as well as a rower. They have almost no VO2 max. They're very low. They train to clear lactic acid better.
Huh.
So they're not spending hours and hours doing cardio. There are other alternatives that you can do to be at peak racing condition.
Yeah, I think so.
Tank rowing in the winter.
Oh, God.
That's interesting. That is interesting. Actually, I do a lot of biking. I mean, I probably average about 40 miles a week. That's not a huge amount because, again, I have to decide where am I going to put my finite amount of energy. But I do think finding something else that you do
So
to stay fit.
going to the bike, so the bike is continuous motion. The CrossFit people have done a study of like going 20 seconds all out on the rower, and then on the berg, you produce way more lactic acid on the berg than you do on the rower, because the rower, you have the recovery, so you have that break in between.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
if you're really like working, oh my goodness, I'm doing a terrible job, I feel so much lactic acid after the race, don't train it on the erg, do it on the berg.
Interesting.
And so even just ordinary biking, you're probably producing more lactic acid than you are steady state out on the water.
Interesting. I think that one of the things, actually a young HPG woman was saying, she said, I went biking in the countryside And it was so good for my soul, as opposed to being on the berg. Again, I mean, there's so many beautiful bike rides in the Boston, greater Boston area, out in the countryside, and they're real workouts, but you feel different when you're outdoors in nature. There's a kind of, I mean, there really is a quality of the energy I feel when I'm on the river and looking at, and I see the herons, and they occasionally pausing and realizing this is extraordinary that I've got the good fortune to be able to come and have this secret look at nature upstream that's not visible for most people. So again, getting into that part of what rowing is, as opposed to the numbers and the reps and the splits, and I mean, I'm also of course worrying and thinking about all those. I mean, one of the things, if I overtrain, if I don't take the recovery I know I should take, I actually lose ground in my aerobic capacity. I mean, in other words, it is possible to really, by not respecting your recovery, you not only are not making progress, you may actually be undermining. So that when I learned more about that, okay, what to do when something starts to hurt. Because the number of people who say to me, I just try to ignore it, hope it goes away. I mean, Kira has listed, which you'll read when I give this to you, about stretching and deloading, and then, you know, if it continues. I don't take Advil or any of the anti-inflammatories because I think, okay, that's, my body is telling me something, and if I take that, it's sort of like putting a muzzle on my body's communication system.
Catherine,
Yeah.
I just went to orthopedic doctor,
Yeah.
and he said use ice twice a day. That is the best thing you could do.
Great.
Naturally, it's
Great.
cheap.
And
So,
and
ice.
yes, ice because it takes inflammation down
Yeah.
and pain down.
And
I don't do it enough. Icing. It's a
Like,
good,
I can't take painkillers or
right.
anything. So
Fantastic,
ice.
fantastic. Great. Well, I also think very often something hurts, and the place it hurts isn't where the injury is. It's somewhere else that's tight or weak or stiff, you know, that is causing something. I mean, I've had a recent experience of that. So I actually also do go to, I know a lot of people think chiropractors aren't good, but I have a very good one who doesn't do any of these big twist things. But she makes these small adjustments, and it turned out one of my legs was longer than the other, so I was something was out, and my knee was hurting, but it wasn't, nothing to do with my knee. It had to do with a tight hamstring on my left side.
It's called referral.
Yeah. And I think, so don't ignore when something hurts. That's the first thing I would say. Yes, rest, yes, stretch, but if it continues to hurt, find someone who can give you some feedback as to what's going on there, instead of just pushing through the pain. I mean, I think I saw Elena Ilana, I never pronounced her correctly, who was sitting on the floor. She said, oh, my back again. And I'm thinking, wish she would come to my talk, because I can just see she needs to do some of these things, because she's always got back trouble, and I hate it. Anyway, Kira Twist is a great physiotherapist, and she knows what rowers suffer from. So use her as a resource, I would say. I get massages, not often because they're so expensive here in Guatemala. They're $25 for an hour and a half. So I get a lot of massages in Guatemala. So I'm a little lucky on that. But getting massages, using people who do body work when something is hurt, sore or tight. And I'll hurry on here. And sleep and rest. Go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time if you possibly can. I go to bed at 9 o'clock. I mean, unless there's some evening out or something, but for the most part, I go to bed at 9 o'clock. I wake up before 5 usually, but close to 5. So I try to get 8 hours, 7.5 to 8 hours, and I think it's so important. And I take naps if I've had a really tough workout. When, so really take care of yourselves, treat your bodies well, and they will love you for it. There's Luke told me, put a picture of my medals here. So I put a picture of my medals in this. I said, I don't know if people know that I win races. And he said, they do. And he said, put a picture of your medals there. So I did. But Graham Barnes also put in his ideas for an annual periodicity plan. It's a little bit small, but
What kind of plan?
he calls it ideas for an annual periodicity. I guess it means mixing up what you do.
Okay.
Anyway, folks, I hope this was a little bit useful to you.
Oh, very much so.
Okay, good.
Thank you.